Hello, and welcome to the Snark Lounge. With me, your host tonight, Bryn from Burbex, Bryn's Urban Exploration. Unfortunately, Jimmy can't make it tonight. He's got to go and pick up Bunny, who's just come out of quarantine after another 2 weeks in. Jesus, how does he manage that every week? But, Glenn says he's having a kitty cat. I don't know what that means. Sorry, Glenn. So, tonight you've got me instead. And tonight's topic, what we're going to be looking at is kind of the relationship between Chinese people and animals. And the specific relationship that we're going to look at tonight is, between Chinese people and their pets, like dogs and cats, maybe like hamsters and stuff later on, but mostly cats and dogs today. So we're going to be talking about that, right? I can see we've got a lot of friends of the Snark Lounge in here today. Walkabout Rollhole has just come in. Hello, Walkabout. If you want to check out some good videos, go and check out Walkabout Rollhole's channel. You can just follow the link there. We've also got Nicholas. I think Nicholas is in Scotland right now, where it's very cold, and he's just used the word ball bag, B-A-W-B-A-G. Now, for our Chinese friends, they might not understand what a ball bag is, but in a Scottish accent, which I'll try to do now, ball bag. A ball bag is your genital sac, let's say. It's your scrotum. Who else have we got here tonight? We've also got Caliper Wings. Caliper's on a date tonight. Good luck. He's going to be like, on one hand, talking with his date, and on the other hand, like watching this show. So let's all send him our love, send him good luck. We've got Bo Wen Li, 你好博文，你今天怎么样？好不好? And also we've got Summer Dog in Sweden. Wow, Sweden must be pretty cold right now. And also BT. I don't know BT, but hopefully we'll get to know you a bit today. Like I said, today's topic is about cats and dogs, mostly. And what I want you to do, before we begin, I want to give Snarky a big surprise when he comes back to his channel, is that if you're not subscribed already, be sure to subscribe to this channel. And if at any point you think I'm doing a fantastic job, you can send a super chat as well. Yeah, but only if I'm doing a good job. Oh, Bo Wen Li is an American in Hong Kong. That's a bit confusing. Anyway, what's the topic for today? Well, the topic we're talking about today is kind of Chinese people's relationship with animals, right? I know I just said that. And it's kind of mostly about cats and dogs. Now, I've lived in China about 17 years now. You might not know that. And in that time, I've basically seen a lot of things related to animals. Some of it good. I've got to say there's a few good things that the Chinese do, but some of it bad as well. Maybe a bit more bad than good, I actually live in Shanghai right now, and we have 3 dogs. My 3 dogs are called Qin Qin. Qin Qin means like a kiss kiss. We've got Momo, which also means kiss kiss. And also we got our newest dog, who's called Sandy. And Sandy's just because she's yellow, right? And all of these are actually stray dogs. These are dogs which we've rescued from the street. The first dog, Qin Qin, somebody posted something in the social media saying that they found this dog, and we just basically adopted it, right? But the other 2 dogs we just found in the street around here. I was walking the dog, first dog number 1, Qin Qin, out in our neighborhood, and we were walking it around the neighborhood, and then some students from the nearby university came up, and they were holding this puppy and said that the security guards at the university wouldn't let them take the dog in. They wanted to rescue the dog, but they wouldn't let them take the dog in. And I kind of liked it, so I picked it up and we took it home. We were planning to take it to a rescue center or something, but eventually we just ended up keeping it, right? And the last dog we got is called Sandy, and Sandy was just running around our neighborhood for like 2 or 3 weeks, and we were chasing after that dog for ages because it's a really good looking dog. Actually, let's see if I can get a dog. I'll be right back. Let me see if I can get a dog. Which dog am I going to take? This is dog number one. This is Chin Chin. It's a bit of a strange looking dog. Maybe a little bit of a schnauzer. I can't tell. But can you believe that somebody left this beautiful puppy out in the street in a garbage can in Songjiang? That's a province. That's a part of Shanghai. You're beautiful, aren't you? She's smart as well. Look at those big ears. Isn't she gorgeous? Do you want to go out and play with the others? Off you go. Yeah, so I guess you could say I'm a dog lover, right? So that's why living in China can be a little bit traumatic sometimes. It kind of tests your patience. It tests your values. Maybe you didn't know what your values were before, but owning a pet in China, you start to learn these values. Oh, Glenn J is saying he looks nice. Actually, Glenn, Chin Chin is a girl. Yeah, I know she looks a bit boyish, but it's a girl. And we've also just got Shenzhou. He's like, 大家好, everyone. 大家好, Shenzhou. Thanks for joining the show tonight. So, yeah, this brings up like a whole bunch of thoughts in my head. I'm going to tell like a whole bunch of information, a whole bunch of stories as well to help you understand Chinese people's relationship with dogs specifically, maybe cats as well. And wow, Master Q, he's in South Africa, I think. And he says they have 6 dogs. Jesus, I got 3 dogs and I go mental. 6? Do they all sleep in your bed, Master Q? Wow, that's a lot of dogs. I couldn't handle that. Anyway, maybe the first thing that we're going to talk about is like, actually, it feels like a lot of Chinese people are afraid of animals, right? It seems to be like this deep-seated fear of animals, not just a fear, but it's also like they don't like them. Often when you talk to people in Chinese, say like, you know, do you like animals? They'll just be like, no. Like, what? You don't like chickens? They're like, no, don't like chickens. Don't like rabbits? Don't like rabbits. Don't like dogs? Definitely don't like dogs. So it's like they're a little bit afraid of them and they don't like them a lot. And we see this a lot as we walk through our neighborhood. Not just, you know, it could be downtown. I live kind of a little bit out of side of Shanghai. And I'll be walking Chin Chin, right? The dog that you just saw. The least offensive dog you'll ever meet, right? And, you know, be walking down the street and people will literally jump out of their skin when they see this dog, right? You know, and it's not just girls, it's also boys as well. I remember coming out of Huaihai Road subway station. I was walking past it with Chin Chin, and there was a boy with his girlfriend, and the boy was like looking at his phone. Then suddenly Chin Chin sniffs at his leg and he goes, ah! And then he grabbed hold of his girlfriend, and he's like, why, pa? And it just seems that, you know, a lot of Chinese people, even boys and girls, are naturally afraid of dogs, especially. Now, I investigated this a little bit as well, and it seems that they're more afraid of black dogs than they are of, you know, white dogs or yellow dogs, for example. You know, Sandy is yellow. Nobody's afraid of him. And I investigated that a little bit, and it turns out some of my students were saying that actually the reason people are afraid of black dogs is that there's some kind of Japanese myth, not even a Chinese myth, a Japanese myth, some mythology, and it's in a cartoon as well, about this black dog demon. And it shows up in cartoons. And funnily enough, it's also the name of a brand of sake, you know, like the Japanese wine, which you can get at a lot of sushi places here in Shanghai. So Nicholas, yeah, now Nicholas has just said something interesting, right? Nicholas just said, hold on, if I can get his message up, how do I get out? Nicholas just said, I was born in the year of the dog. Dogs are loyal animals. Now that's an interesting point, because in Chinese, right, that they would often talk about dogs being, let me write this word down, zhong, like that, which means loyal, right? And in the West, we also have that association. And I think that's why it makes it a bit painful, the way that Chinese people can often treat animals like that. We'll get to that a bit more later. Master Q is saying they only have one dog in the bed, or maybe it means he's the only one in the bed. I don't know. My dog's always trying to push me out, right? So, you know, I have to walk around the neighborhood, my neighborhood in the countryside, with 3 dogs, right? It's quite challenging walking 3 dogs. And, you know, as we get into the elevator, into the lift, you know, like children will hold themselves in the corner of the lift and hold themselves behind their grandmother's legs because they're like terrified of dogs. And to be honest, I think it's actually the grandmothers and the grandfathers who are telling them that dogs are bad. Because, you know, like they'll hold on to their grandmothers like this, and the grandmother will say, "Hey, nigga, go, boo-ha," and it's always the grandmothers that are spreading this shit about dogs, basically, right? Shenzhou is saying that dogs are actually quite rather, what's he saying? Rather unflattering in Chinese culture. Calling someone a dog in China is to insult them. Yeah, that's very true as well. And actually, there's the word in Chinese "zogou," which literally means running dog. If you're a running dog, that means you're a traitor. So, you know, some Chinese people who kind of sold themselves to the Japanese, you know, sold out to the Japanese during the occupation, they were also called zogou. It's an interesting cultural point. Thanks, Xinjiang. So, so we're often walking the dogs through the neighborhood. We get in the lift. You know, sometimes people don't want us to get into the lift, or sometimes I'm in the lift and then they won't go in the lift. Then we go around the neighborhood, and to be honest, there's a lot of people with dogs in our neighborhood, and our 3 dogs are quite small. But in our neighborhood, we see other people with dogs, right? You know, and probably the most common dog that we see in the neighborhood is a teddy poodle. I don't know if you've seen teddies before. Nightbird, that's my girlfriend, she calls them fried chicken because they look like crunchy fried chicken. I don't know. And that's probably the most popular dog in neighborhoods like this because they're little. You know, like it's a little house dog. And we'll be walking them around, walking our dogs around, and then people walking their teddies, you know, these dogs will go, and people are like pulling on it, pulling. And their dogs are just going mental. And our dogs are just like totally chillaxed. You know, like our dogs are like, yeah, I know we're cool, but, and it feels like Chinese people are not only afraid of dogs, but those people that do have dogs are kind of afraid to let their dogs play with other dogs. And so, you know, I live in a neighborhood which has got lots of high-rise buildings, and a lot of people, they keep their dogs in the balconies here, and you can hear them barking a lot at night. It's very frustrating. Master Q is saying that in South Africa, some cultures fear the white bull terrier dogs. Belief is a bite may cause impotence. Ugh, Jesus, impotence. But I wonder why that the white bulldog would cause the white terrier. But actually, I'm a fan of terriers, so I better watch out. So, you know, living in the countryside as well, you know, in this area, there's a lot of stray dogs as well. You know, every time I walk down the street, doesn't matter where you go, you can find stray dogs everywhere. And these are what we call tugao. Tugao literally means a countryside dog, right? And, you know, like they'll follow you down the street sometimes. You know, my second dog, Mormor, is probably a tugao. And you might know from my channel myself, you know, I go to abandoned places. I go to, you know, like abandoned amusement parks. I go to abandoned factories. And there always seems to be like a group, you know, like a pack of these mutts. And these mutts, they're very, very barky. I think they've been kind of bred so that they bark, right? They never bite, they just bark. And you'll often find these dogs in like packs around abandoned places. And, you know, if you want one, just go pick one up, take it home. And yeah, so I often encounter dogs in this neighborhood. One of the big problems in this neighborhood is that since coronavirus started, they've taken away all the trash cans, right? Which seems a bit counterintuitive because people used to like pick up the dog poo, then put the dog poo in the trash can. But since they've removed all the trash cans, it just means there's dog shit everywhere in our neighborhood, which is pretty gross. I've stepped in it a few times when taking the dogs out. Walkabout is saying pet culture, I feel, is changing quickly. If I had money, I would invest in vets, pet services, pet hotels, pet suppliers, private dog parks. I agree completely, right? And actually, I can tell you that today I took my dog Mormor to the vet, right? And there's a very big vet that you can go to in downtown Shanghai, which is where all the foreigners go. Don't go there; they'll rip you off. A lot of the private veterinary hospitals in China are very reasonably priced and very professional. So like I went there today. My dog Mormor, she had like this thing on her leg because she licks herself too much. I go there; they're super professional, and it probably cost like, I don't know, $15. If you were going to get that done downtown in Shanghai, it probably cost you $200 maybe. So it can be very expensive. Glenn J is saying, how do you spell Mormor? Oh, it means grandma in Swedish. I'm going to write that one down. More. It's actually spelled M-E-M-E. Murmur. Murmur is the sound of a kiss, like that in Chinese. Can I send that? I don't know. Yeah, so things are getting better. I would say that they're getting better. One thing that you've got to pay attention to is the kind of dogs that people have as well. In Shanghai, there's actually a ban on big dogs. So big dogs would be like Rottweilers, like Walkabout was saying, pit bulls, very mastiffs as well. So a lot of these dogs are basically banned, and you have to have a special license. But that doesn't stop a lot of people having these big dogs. So I was exploring a neighborhood recently, and it was a very affluent neighborhood, and there were two gigantic Rottweilers in a big cage together, and they were very noisy animals, and that is actually illegal in downtown Shanghai. Not just downtown Shanghai, all of Shanghai. And one of the big things that they're pushing for is the registration of dogs. Now, what happens is that if your dog is not registered, the Chengguan. Now, I have to explain the Chengguan a little bit. The Chengguan are not exactly the police. They're like the, how can I say, the city enforcement officers, right? They deal with environmental issues often. And the Chengguan, they will actually, if they see a stray dog out in the street, if it's a bad case, they will go out and they will beat that dog to death. And this is very common in China. And I think especially in my neighborhood, because there's so many stray dogs, this happens quite regularly. They beat dogs. They beat dogs to death, and you can find this on the Chinese internet quite regularly. The other thing is that even if your dog is at home, right? Let's say my dog is at home, but it's not registered. Now, the Chengguan could come and knock on the door at any time, say, where's your dog? Show me its registration. And if it's not registered, they can take it away and put it in a dog pound or have it put down, like have the dog killed. So it's very important to have your dog registered here, right? Now, the problem with this is actually the dog registration process in Shanghai is not only quite difficult, but also very time consuming, right? Now, I understand why the government does this, right? They want to prevent the spread of, like canine COVID, rabies, and other transmissible diseases. If you want to get your dog registered, the first thing you've got to do is you go and get 3 different vaccinations, and this takes about 3 months. So you get the first vaccination, another one about a month later, and a third one after 3 months, right? The problem is you can't register your dog until you've got all 3 of those vaccinations. So theoretically, if Chengguan officers, city enforcement officers, came to your door and said, where's the dog registration papers? And let's say you're on your first or your second vaccination for your dog, they could actually take away your dog, even though it's on the way to being registered. And that's the problem, is that there's all these loopholes in the way that the government basically deals with these, right? Another problem was that, for example, in Beijing, when people went into quarantine, like people ourselves, when we went into quarantine for COVID, they were allowed, people in Beijing were allowed to take their pets with them, right? So, you know, like you could be there 2 weeks and take your dog or your cat with you and it'd be fine. In Shanghai, that wasn't allowed. Now, this led to a big crisis, not just in Shanghai, but some other cities as well, because there were basically animals which were left at home starving to death, right? And there were many stories about this. And, you know, people were like frantically picking up their phones from within quarantine saying, can you go and feed my dog? Can you take care of my dog? And there was actually like services that grew out of this. But unfortunately, a lot of pets, a lot of cats and dogs died during COVID because they were being left behind, right? The other issue, and this part kind of breaks my heart because I love all animals. Some people are dog animals, some people are dog people, some people are cat people. I love all animals equally. Because dogs and cats can get COVID as well. There's like canine COVID, there's feline COVID, and there was a lot of ignorance surrounding all this, and people believed that if their dog had COVID, then they could catch COVID. And this actually led to people throwing their animals out of windows of apartment blocks. And because I suppose these people were in lockdown and they would just throw the animals out. And unfortunately, in my neighborhood, I'd seen like a couple of dead cats which had been thrown out of windows. And, you know, like that really breaks my heart when people treat animals like that. But that's not to say that everybody did this, right? I'm just saying these are some of the things that happened around here, right? Yeah, sorry, I got a bit sad about that one. If you're interested tonight, I'm drinking Ballantine's, that's whiskey, and San Benedito sparkling water, whiskey and soda, very Japanese, all right? We'll get back to that in a minute. Let's see what people say in the comments here. So, Firmabert, is that how I say your name? Firmabert? Oh no, I'm looking at the wrong one. Sorry. Here we go. Yeah, interesting. Firmabert says most vets worked on food safety. This new pet vet market is a huge opportunity for many doctors. That's very true as well. And a lot of people are investing in like pet food companies as well. You know, there's a lot of investment in like pet toys and pet health going on as well. So even though there are a lot of people who are very ignorant about how to take care of animals, at the same time in China, people's awareness of how to take animals is increasing a lot. Now, okay. Now Shenzhou is saying saving human lives is priority over saving pets' lives. I'm not sure if that's Shenzhou's own opinion or the Chinese people's opinion, but yes, I agree. But at the same time, in my opinion, like all lives are equal, whether it's human, cats, dogs, donkeys, whatever. And I think that's something to do with the philosophy. There's a big philosophical difference between the West and the East, right? For example, in a lot of Western countries, you know, we kind of have this Christian background, right? And if you look in the Bible, I haven't looked in the Bible recently. I'm not a superhuman Christian. I'm not a super Christian or anything. If you look in the Bible, it says, you know, like there was Adam and Eve. They were in the Garden of Eden, and basically God says it's your responsibility to take care of these animals, right? You know, you can eat them if you want to. You can be friends with them, but basically, it's your responsibility, right? I think that concept is called stewardship, right? It's your responsibility, and that doesn't just apply to like animals. That applies to nature in general. It was given to us by God to take care of it, right? In China, on the other hand, there's kind of a different view, and that view is that nature, which includes animals and trees and whatever, is here to be kind of taken and controlled, right? And that gives you a perspective on how Chinese people often think about animals, is that For example, people in my neighborhood, right? For example, the security guards or maybe the farmers in the fields, they often see me with my dog, one of my dogs maybe, and they'll say, 这个是什么东西? Now, 东西, that literally means what is that thing, right? But the 东西 there means like it's an object, right? If I was to call a person a 东西 in Chinese, that's very, very offensive. That's like saying you are an object. Conversely, if I say 你不是东西, you are not an object, that's bad as well. So they don't really perceive pets as being living beings in the sense that humans are living beings. And I'm not criticizing that. I'm just stating the facts, though, right? So, what was I saying? Yeah. So you see, there's kind of these two counters between it, and it can be quite upsetting for Westerners in China who see the way that Chinese people think about their animals. Now, a very common phenomenon in Shanghai and Beijing and many other cities is that you will see stray dogs, which are actually quite expensive breeds, right? For example, maybe you're in the street and you actually see teddy poodles, or maybe you see corgis. I don't know if you've seen corgis, and these dogs are kind of fashionable, right? It's a fashionable dog, right? And the problem with fashion, it's a trendy dog, let's say, because trends are shorter. It's a trendy dog. Now, the problem with trends is that when the trends end, people often just discard the dog, right? And I'm not saying that's just about China. That happens in many countries as well. People throw away dogs. But it means that as a result of these trends, there's often a lot of stray dogs, which belong to that breed, right? Now, Shenzhou has come in again. He's clarified it a bit. He's saying the Chinese word for animal is literally dongwu, literally moving object, right? If you were to call a person a dongwu, that would be very offensive in Chinese, I think, right? And Master Q is coming in saying, seeing animals a bit like inanimate objects. Exactly, you know. And, God, there's so much to say about this topic. Let me have a drink. There's a lot to talk about with this topic, right? And so from the very beginning of an animal, especially dogs, I'm talking about dogs a lot today, it can be cats as well. From the very beginning of their lives, they're almost like farmed here in China. And you often see like dog farms. Now, dog farms, they treat the mother dogs like shit, you know, and the puppies are often drugged as well. Sometimes you'll be in a pet store, or maybe you'll be on the street, and people often sell puppies on the street in a cage, just like in random places. And you see, like, you try to pick up a puppy, you say, what kind of puppy is this? And they'll say, like, Chihuahua or Beagle or whatever. You pick one up, and the puppy will just, like, look at you. What's going on, man? I don't like this. What the fuck, man? I'm like 3 months old. Leave me alone. And the thing is, actually, they drug these dogs, right? They put sedatives in the milk, in their food, whatever they're eating, because Chinese people often want very calm dogs. They want to be able to pick up this dog, take it home, and just have a calm house dog. Because we all know that dogs can be, especially puppies can be a real pain in the ass. I know, because I've got 3. And the problem with this is that they bring the puppy home. After a couple of days, the tranquilizers, the sedatives, they wear off. And then you've got a super hyperactive puppy running around the house. And a lot of families aren't used to this, and they don't like this. And so they'll just rong diao. Rong diao just means like throw away like rubbish, right? And so this kind of leads to an epidemic of stray dogs, which doesn't need to be there. If people would pay more attention to learning about how to take care of animals, about, you know, taking responsibility for their animals, then these things wouldn't necessarily happen so much. And again, this is not just in China, I'm talking about everywhere, right? To be a responsible dog owner in China is much more difficult than being a responsible dog owner in England, where I'm from, because there's not really any support for you to do that. And animal abuse is very common in this country as well. Yeah. I've talked about a lot of stuff already, haven't I? So my girlfriend, she loves, she's got like a Facebook, she's in a Facebook group called Shanghai Animal Rescue, SAR. What I want you to do after this live stream, go check out SAR. If you want to get a dog, do not shop for dogs. Please adopt a dog, right? Because there's a lot of dogs that need adopting. Shanghai Animal Rescue. Look it up in Facebook. They have some beautiful dogs that you can take a look at there. It's really better just to adopt dogs than to buy them from the shops where they've basically been farmed. Yeah, Glenn is saying, what's my tattoo? Which one do you want to see? You see, I told you I'm an animal lover, right? I wasn't lying. On this side, I've got two magpies. You can see there's one magpie there and one magpie there. Magpies are my lucky birds. In England, we say that two magpies is good luck. So I've got that one. What have I got on this one? On this one, what have I got? Here you can see there's a fox. Where have I got it? Here's the fox, and there's a woman, right? That comes from the story of, what's it called in English? Painted Skin. Painted Skin is kind of a traditional Chinese horror story. It's about Hulijing. Hulijing is a fox spirit. And the fox spirit, she's a female, and if she wants to, she puts on her human skin at night to go and seduce men. So to like keep her skin fresh, she cuts open their hearts and eats their hearts. It's one of my favorite Chinese stories. So the Hulijing. On the back, I've got a snake. This one needs to be filled in a bit. And here you can see I've got a Mexican sugar skull, like Mexican Day of the Dead. I need to get these filled in a little bit. Painted Skin. Yeah, Shindo is saying that he loves Painted Skin. Are you talking about, when was the first? I think I like the first one better. It's got the actress Joel Wen. She called Joel Wen. There's two actresses, both called Joel in that movie. I think the small one, quite sexy. The woman that plays the Hulijing, quite sexy. Yeah. Actually, but if you think about it, though, the idea of the Hulijing, the idea of the fox spirit, you know, many Chinese people are kind of terrified of wild animals. You know, I used to live in Hangzhou, and when I would walk around West Lake in the mountains up there, you know, there'd be like a millipede or a caterpillar, and people would just stamp on them. And you would just go along that path and just be like dead insects everywhere, because Chinese people seem mortally afraid of most animals. Yeah, Glenn J is saying Internal Affairs is my favorite Chinese movie that I've seen. I've also seen that. They remade that into The Departed, the Martin Scorsese movie, The Departed, with Jack Nicholson and Matt Damon. I love that film. Yeah. So again, we've got a lot of issues about animals, and there was actually a story quite recently, and it was about in a neighborhood, in a, you know, like in a big community like this one, where a husky, and actually huskies are quite fashionable in China as well. A husky got off the leash, and, you know, like the husky went running around the neighborhood, found a little girl. The little girl didn't really know how to respond to the dog. You know, lots of children here don't know what to do if a dog starts barking at them. You know, maybe they start screaming. Then the dog got scared and basically bit her. Then the security guards in that neighborhood basically came and beat the dog to death. The girl had like a bitten arm and stuff, and then nobody admitted to having the dog in the first place. The dog hadn't been registered. To get a dog registered, it actually has to have a chip in its neck as well. So that dog was not chipped. So I understand this from both points of view. You know, like it's important that dogs are taken care of, but at the same time, like Shenzhou was saying earlier, it's also important to take care of people as well. And I think if we can do both of those at the same time, that's ideal. But I know what a lot of people thought when they thought we were going to talk about dogs and cats, and yes, of course, it's dog meat, right? This is what a lot of people think about when they think about China and kind of Chinese food is dog meat, and people get very outraged about this. Not just foreigners, often Chinese people get outraged about this too. Now, I've got to clarify something, right? And I'm not defending China or anything. I'm just telling you what I know. Is that dog meat is not traditionally Chinese, right? I'm going to say that again. Dog meat is not traditionally Chinese. It is eaten in China, but it's not traditionally from China. If you go to the very northeast of China, right, up into Liaoning, that's up in the north, or Heilongjiang, you often find a lot of the people there eat meat, right? Eat dog meat, sorry. And that's because North Korea, which is just over the border, traditionally has a culture of eating dog meat, and there's a specific kind of dog as well. It's kind of this big yellow dog. Not very useful description, is it? But actually, if you head over to my channel and type in like Burbex dog meat, you can see actually when my girlfriend and we went to Guangzhou, it was actually in the Guangdong countryside, and there was a man trying to sell us a dog to eat. And yeah, so Shenzhou is saying that dog meat is eaten in Korea too, and actually the culture of eating dog meat did come out of Korea, not out of China. And it's also eaten in Vietnam as well. And so you can see that there's two kind of areas of China where dog meat is eaten mostly, and that's in the north of China, like the northeast part of China, and they'll eat it because they say that in the winter, dog meat in Chinese medicine is supposed to like warm up your body, right? And it's actually more important for women to eat dog meat because women have like a cooler constitution, right? So you can imagine, and it's often eaten in hot pots as well. The other place is down in the south in Yunnan, and that's because of the influence out of Vietnam. And every year, I think it's in Guilin, there's the Guilin Dog Meat Festival, where people go and basically choose a dog and eat it, which is terrible. It's disgusting. I'm sorry if it upsets you, me saying these things. But on the positive side, a lot of Chinese protesters have been going to this festival, basically trying to shut it down. And at the same time as shutting it down, they buy the dogs as well, buy the dogs while they're still alive, and then take them out to try and get them to safety, try and get them adopted out. When I lived in the northeast of China, you would often see gigantic dogs in cages, because it's not all dogs that get eaten. That's a misconception that little dogs will get eaten. Yeah, so Shenzhou is just backing me up on that. He's saying, yes, I heard dog meat is heaty. It's like drinking vodka to warm up the body. Glenn J is saying, isn't it supposed to gain the animal spirit by capturing its heart? Maybe it's a Chinese story. Yikes. I'm not sure I want a dog heart, though. Yeah, so when I lived in the northeast of China, you would often see gigantic dogs, because it's not all dogs that get eaten, right? Some dogs are not suitable. For example, the Mastiff, great big bastard, big hairy dogs. They keep them in cages, they fatten them up, they skin them, and they eat them. And so, like I've seen Mastiffs in cages, and I say, well, what's that for? And they say, oh, we're going to eat that, right? Or another time when I was exploring in the mountains in Beijing, like I found basically dog skins which have been thrown away. And they're not small, they're very large, like the dogs have been skinned, which is actually very terrible. Yeah. So, but what I want to say is that Chinese people don't all go around eating dog meat all the time. It's just very few people eat this, actually. And I think China actually has a very bad reputation for it, I'm not defending China, but I'm saying that the accusation that China eats dog meat is kind of overblown, even though people do eat it. Actually, if you go to Guangzhou, I used to live in Guangzhou as well. It was a long time ago, and this kind of ties in with COVID as well, I suppose, because it's about the wet markets. At the wet markets, you could basically buy anything, right? And like I would go through the streets, and I remember one time going through the street, and there was a guy, and he just had like this skinned animal on like a chopping block in the street, not in a wet market, on the street. And I said, well, what's that? He's like, 兔子. 兔子means rabbit, right? And so I'm looking out, like I pick it up, and I realize it's not actually a rabbit, it's a cat, right? And cats are actually eaten as well. At the same market as well, I'd seen like what do they call that animal? It's a bit like it's like a small alligator. What do they call them? Cayenne. It's like a small alligator, and what they were doing is like the mouth was tied up, the body was tied up, and they would go to the end of the tail, like cut the end of the tail, sell that piece of meat, then tie it up while the animal was still alive, sell that piece of meat. Somebody else comes along, they chop off another piece, sell that, tie that up. It's brutal, really brutal. Yeah, Shinjo is saying, my personal opinion to eating dogs is I find rabbits cute and make good pets, yet they're also eating rabbit stew in the UK. Yes, but that is what I would call a fallacy, right? I have a very strong opinion about this. People often say, for example, you don't eat dogs, but you would eat a cow, or you don't eat dogs, but you would eat a pig, or like you don't eat dogs, but you would eat a rabbit, for example. But to be honest, that logic is flawed, right? Human beings, us as humans, we have evolved alongside dogs, right? And this is the reason, like when you look at your dog, I don't know if you realize this, right? You can experiment with this dogs at your home. Try looking into your dog's eyes, right? If you've got a good relationship with your dog will look back right into your eyes like this, and you will look at this. But dogs don't do that to each other. Dogs never look at each other eye to eye. Dogs have evolved beside us so much that they've learned to hack our emotions. Like when the dog opens its eyes really wide, it's like, even a dog wagging its tail. Wolves don't wag their tails, I promise you that. Dogs have evolved these behaviors to basically be friends with us. Not even friends, it's like more deep-seated than that. Primeval humans, like cavemen, could not have survived without dogs, right? Dogs were essential to our own evolution, right? And they have co-evolved beside us, right? They've co-evolved so that they can protect us. Like if there's danger coming, they can protect us. They've evolved so that we can hunt with them. And actually, cavemen would have actually used dogs to keep them warm at night as well. That's why your dog at home, Master Q says he's got 6 dogs. You can hold on to your dog, and they have slightly higher body temperatures than us, so they can keep us warm at night. Could you say the same of a cow? If you said to a cow, hey, cow, come here, cow would go, "Moo." You said to a rabbit, come here. The rabbit's not going to go there. Maybe the closest analogy is horses, but we don't really eat horses, do we? So when people say that meat is meat, it's not meat, because these dogs have evolved beside us, right? And like Shenjo was saying about pigs, right? Yes, I agree. Pigs are intelligent animals. However, we did not evolve alongside pigs, right? I'm not sure if... Oh, Rena is saying, I'm really sick of this kind of preaching. What kind of preaching am I making? Just my opinion, okay? Master and friend. Yeah, Glenn is saying master and friend. So I think the whole thing about, like people saying dogs are friends, it kind of transcends that, right? We just lost Rena because she says I'm preaching, but I'm just, giving facts. Yeah. Yeah. Master Q saying the manner of keeping and killing the dogs is the worst part. Fear and pain believed to be preferred practice. Yes, I agree. Well, you guys let me know. I mean, do you think that, yeah, Verena is saying every topic in China is overblown in English because they have no idea and that's exactly what I was saying. Like Verena has just left the live chat, yet she kind of agrees with what I was saying. Oh, thanks, Glenn J. You've just subbed to me. That's cool. If you don't know about my channel, actually, I can introduce my channel a little bit. I don't normally come and do, like cultural stuff like this. My channel's a bit different. My channel's called Burbex. It's Burbex. You can see it in the corner, and it's Bryn's Urban Exploration. And I go out and I basically explore abandoned places and interesting places as well. Yeah, Shinjo is saying something interesting. Western society were hunters, so the dog is a friend. However, Eastern society had agriculture, so the dogs weren't viewed in the same in the West. I agree with that. You're right. But then that's interesting as well, because in China, you have a very strong relationship with horses as well. Like the Mongolians, they, Genghis Khan, people like that, they had this influence of horses coming in. So it makes me wonder what the relationship with horses. Now, Rojo is asking, do I ever run into scary pups? I've only once, I go exploring with this other guy, an Italian guy called Senzori. He's terrified of dogs. He's so terrified of dogs, all dogs, that he'll carry like dog treats in his pocket to throw at them. But I'm not scared of dogs myself. The only time I was scared of a very, very, very big dog was when I explored Capital Steel in Beijing. Capital Steel is a big abandoned steel plant. They've actually converted it to the Winter Olympics headquarters in Beijing now. And in that place, they had some absolutely gigantic mutts with big, fierce, drooling, big dogs like that. They were very scary, but they were all caged up, and there was just like this little poodle thing running around. Yeah, Shinjo is just saying, I hope I'm not preaching it. Shinjo, this is the whole point, right? I'm just kind of presenting facts. Some of this is my opinion, but I'm just giving facts. It's fine. I don't mind. I don't mind that. I hope Snarky's going to be okay with the way that this live cast is going. Yeah. So normally, what I see when I go exploring places is just like little packs, little families of Liao Lungo. And Liao Lungo means like a stray dog, right? And they'll like be running around, and they probably have puppies there as well. Sometimes I wonder if people actually, like breed these animals and then put them in these places. There was one time last year I explored an abandoned no, it wasn't a police station, an abandoned prison. And when I was in the abandoned prison, a lot of the abandoned prison cells had just like little families of puppies in there. And I'm pretty sure they weren't for eating. Nobody really eats dog meat in Shanghai. I think it might be banned in Shanghai. And it made me think that maybe somebody was taking these mutt babies and, like sending them to building sites or, like work sites to use as guard dogs. And these dogs, there's no need to be afraid of them, really. They are very, very barky. They bark a lot, but they've got no bite, right? It's a bit like me. I've got a lot of bark, but no bite. So, yeah, it kind of made me wonder what they do with all these dogs. It's definitely not for eating. So, Rena Wong, you've got the wrong idea about me, I think. Other dogs? There was another time when I was in Guilin, and I was walking. Every time I would go past Guilin on the bullet train, I could see this mountain with this big round ball on top, which is like a listening ball. Where I come from in England, there's a lot of Bowen is saying, hey, Burbex, dog meat banned in Shanghai? Yeah, I think it is. Downtown Shanghai, it would be. But I live on the outskirts in Jiading. So I think there's actually a dog meat restaurant in my neighborhood somewhere. But in Shanghai, definitely. Yeah. Probably more about cleanliness rather than moral issues, though. So I was in Guilin. I see this big listening ball. It's like a military complex. Climb up the mountain, go through the forests, go through some tunnels, and somehow, inadvertently, I had entered into a live Chinese Air Force base. It was a bit of a mistake. It was like a radar ball on top. And the only reason I knew that it was live is because a couple of Alsatians started barking very, very loudly, and I ran as fast as I could down the mountain. You can check that out on my channel if you want to put it. I can Burbex radar, radar, and you should be able to find that as well. Yeah, so I think Chinese people have a very complex relationship with animals. Good question, Glenn. Glenn is asking what zodiac animal I am. I am actually 1980, year of the monkey. Yes, I know. I look super young, but I'm 40 years old. Lived in China 17 years, so I know a lot about China. Monkey is supposed to be smart, but kind of cheeky. That kind of ties in with the Monkey King as well. I'll tell you an interesting story about monkeys as well. It's kind of a sad story about monkeys, actually. I was in Guiyang in. Oh yeah, Glenn is right. Metal. Actually, I think I'm a wood monkey. Mulho. So I was in Guiyang, which is in which province is that in? Guiyang. I can't remember. So I was in Guiyang, and I'm in the taxi, and the taxi's taking me to a place called Monkey Mountain, right? And just like this big park, you can walk through the park. There's monkeys there, you know, kind of like feral monkeys, let's say. They're not pet monkeys or anything. You can give them peanuts or bananas or whatever. They just like jump around. They'll jump in the path. You give them something, and they piss off back into the trees. And, you know, that's a fun place to go with kids. So, talking with a taxi driver, and I say to him, like, take me to the Monkey Mountain, right? And he starts taking me there, and he's like, did you hear about what happened yesterday? I'm like, well, what happened yesterday? And he said that there was a family, right? And they're pushing their son, who's a toddler, I suppose. They're pushing their son through this park in a pram. Oh, no, a pushchair. So they're pushing him through, and the kid is wearing kaidan ku. Now, you probably don't know what kaidan ku is if you're from the West. It's like these pants, but with a hole in it, so the kid just pee or poo anywhere, right? So it's like, yeah, Guiyang province. Guizhou, that's right. So like they're pushing their kid through. So, and the kid's got like his little ding-a-ling sticking out, and they put a peanut in the kid's hand, right, to get a monkey to come over. So the kid's got the peanut in his hand. Monkey, an adult monkey comes over, doesn't take the peanut, but instead bites the kid's penis off. You know, it goes in there, takes the penis and the balls, rips it off, then disappears into the forest. And then they never caught the monkey. I think the monkey must have been pretty hungry afterwards. But that meant that this kid actually had his genitals removed. I don't know how they would deal with that. He wouldn't be able to have any family anymore. Nicholas is saying is a dog. Okay, so that suits your personality very well. Yeah, ouch. A Snoopy snatcher. What's that? Yikes. Yeah. Talking about the zodiac though, this year or the upcoming year will be the year of the cow. In Chinese, they say Niu. Niu means like cool, or you say Niu Bi, that means like cow's vagina. That means like fucking awesome. You do this Niu because it looks like the horns of a cow. And even though Niu is the word Niu, it means like cool. If you're born in the year of the cow, that's not such a good thing here in China. People think that people born in the year of the cow might be like a little bit dumb, a little bit slow. It's Not necessarily true though. Yeah, Shenzhou is saying 牛逼. Yeah. Anyway, we are almost at the end of the show. What I want you to do before I go is, if you are not subscribed to this channel, Snarky Guy, make sure that you subscribe, okay? Because when Snarky gets back, I want to see like at least 50 more subs. That'd be an awesome gift for him when he gets back. The other thing I want to remind you is that you can go over to my channel in 15 minutes at 9:15, right? I've got a premiere coming up at 9:15. In this premiere, we are going to be exploring an abandoned yacht club. Yes, it's by a big lake called Guilin, just outside Shanghai. There's a huge yacht club. There's this huge hotel where people used to stay. Very, very fancy place, you know, like gold and stuff. People used to stay in there while their yachts were docked. Then they go yachting or whatever. There's a big yacht house. And also there is, what's the other thing? A big mansion as well. If you've seen the Addams Family, it looks a little bit like the Addams Family mansion, right? So be sure to head over to watch that next. So I'm talking to you, Glenn J, Shenzhou, Nicholas, Bowen Lee, Walkabout. Walkabout's already subbed, I think. Rena, if she wants to come back. I think we might have lost her. Master Q, all you guys head over to my channel. It's gonna go live in about 15 minutes. All right. I'm gonna get out of here in a couple of minutes. Are there any questions that you want to ask? Any like questions that I can answer super quick? So Glenn J is saying, oh, Nicholas is saying, see you all soon. Thanks, Nicholas. I hope you enjoyed the show. What is it he always says at the end of his show? Isn't it like stay frosty? Okay, we've got to remember some of these things. Stay frosty, true story. What's the other thing he says? Oh, don't forget to carry a can of sardines. You never know when you might need them. Take it easy and have a great weekend. Take care. Bye. That's what she said. Yeah, that's right. Hey, I can't